Welcome to this video lecture from JMI's Judeo-Arabic Music Conference, Yallah, which took place at SOAS University of London in February 2020. My name is Gil Karpus, Events and Marketing Manager for the JMI. In this lecture presentation, we hear from Dr. Beya Lefkowitz and Daisy Aboudi as they present the work of Sephardi Voices UK, which will be followed by an interview with the recently departed eminent Iraqi ethnomusicologist Yehezkel Kojaman. This was presented at JMI's Yallah Judeo-Arabic Music Conference on February the 9th, 2020. If you'd like to find out more work about Sephardi Voices UK, then simply visit sephardivoices.org.uk.
Hello, my name is Dr. Beya Lefkowitz and I'm the director of the Sephardi Voices UK Oral History Archive. It is my great pleasure to be here together with my colleague Daisy Aboudi to talk about the work of our Sephardi Voices UK archive and to present a short film based on the interview with Yehezkel Kojaman, which I conducted in 2015. When we started interviewing in 2009, we wanted to tell the often forgotten stories of the Jews from the Middle East, North Africa and Iran who settled in Britain. We have now collected more than 100 interviews and we're grateful to the many interviewees who've shared their memories of growing up in places like Tangiers, Baghdad, Casablanca, Alexandria, Esfahan, Beirut, Benghazi, Wad Medani or Tehran. They've also shared their memories of leaving their homes, sometimes under difficult circumstances, and memories of going to new places, building up new communities and forming new identities.
In the last 2 decades, there has been a huge increase in the number of testimony and oral history projects in the UK. Listening to and learning from personal accounts and individual experiences has redefined our understanding of major historical events in the 20th century. But none of these projects dealt with the experiences of the huge number of displaced Jews from North Africa, the Middle East and Iran, many of whom left their home and settled in the UK. That's why Sephardi Voices UK was established. We work to preserve the memories of the elder generation of Sephardi and Mizrahi Jews in order to add their voices to the history of British Jews and to the wider story of immigration in Britain. Our mission at Sephardi Voices UK is to create a unique window into the lives of Jewish communities across the Middle East and North Africa, most of which no longer exist. As Beya said, we have carried out over 100 interviews with interviewees from over 16 countries. This large number of interviews means that we can build up a picture of Mizrahi Jewry in the UK and allows for unique individual experiences to shine through. The geographical spread, heavily weighted towards interviewees from Iraq and Egypt, reflects the global immigration patterns of these communities. All of our interviews are available to watch in full at the British Library as part of the Living Britain Oral History Collection. They will also soon be available to access at Bet Hatfutsot, the Museum of the Jewish People in Jerusalem. In addition to this, extracts of our interviews can be found on our website, on our social media and on YouTube.
We would like to welcome Yehezkel's grandson and some of Yehezkel's friends like Dr. Sarah Manasseh and Professor Zami Zubeida to the screening of the film. The first interviews which I conducted for our project in 2009 and 2010 were all with Iraqi Jews. I was struck by the pride of the interviewees in their Iraqi identity, across gender and class, expressed strongly by the interviewees. Abdallah Dangour, born 1914 in Baghdad, states, quote, "How can I deny that I'm an Iraqi? I did not go there as an immigrant. I have lived there for 3,000 years. Abdallah's sister, Eileen Khalaschi, shares his sentiment. When asked to describe her identity, she replied, quote, "I'm Iraqi, 100% Iraqi, and I love Iraq, but unfortunately, we cannot be there." At the end of another interview, Ivy Shashua, born 1933 in Baghdad, puts it differently. She says, quote, "I left Baghdad many years ago, but it did not leave me." As Professor Sarusi pointed out yesterday, Iraq was different from other countries in the Middle East and North Africa, in as far as the Jews were an integral part of Arab culture and the Arab Enlightenment process. In the interview with Yehezkel, this comes across very strongly. It was important for him to underline that he still writes his articles as an Iraqi. When I asked him what being an Iraqi meant to him, he replied, quote, I think like Iraqis. I think like a son of the Iraqi people. Another pertinent point for Yehezkel was to point out to me that there was no Jewish music in Iraq, only Iraqi music played by Jews. And this relates to some of the complicated discussions around labeling music, Judeo-Arabic music, Jewish music, or Mizrahi music. When he arrived in Israel after 14 years of imprisonment in Iraq and found one of the Kuwaiti brothers, Daoud al-Kuwaiti, selling kitchenware in a market in Shkhunat Tikva, he knew somebody had to write the history of the role of the Jews in Iraqi music, because otherwise, quote, this history will be dead. And that's what motivated him to write his book, The Maqam Music Tradition of Iraq, published in 2001. The entire interview with Yehezkel is more than 5 hours long and was conducted over 2 days. And as you will see, he speaks very slowly. His interview illustrates some of the incredible life journeys our interviewees have experienced. From being a proud Iraqi communist to being imprisoned for many years in an Iraqi prison, from escaping to Israel and writing one of the first Arab Hebrew dictionaries to settling in London with his children and wife Habiba. He continued to teach, write on Iraqi music and general political issues. Yehezkel had a blog in Arabic and a huge number of followers. What we prepared is a 13-minute excerpt of the interview relating to reflections on music, Jewish musicians, and the Maqam tradition. Yehezkel's interview is unique in our archive as it deals with music in such great detail. Another one is the interview with the Iraqi British Jewish composer Brian Elias. In most interviews, we can find short references to music. For example, in Aline Khalasji's interview, such as a description of sleeping on a roof in Baghdad and listening to the music of the parties on the riverbank of the Tigris, description of henna parties, or reference to synagogue music and the familiarity of certain tunes. I hope that in the future, ethnomusicologists will listen to all our interviews and find more references to musical memories and practices. We also need to include more specific questions on memories of the soundscapes of the interviewees, because we know that music, like language and food, is a central component of displaced and diasporic identities. So without further ado, let us listen to the recollections and reflections by Yehezkel Kojaman.
The earliest things I remember was that I was a lover of Kulthum at the age of 4. There was in our house someone who lived in a room, and he used to buy all the records of Kulthum. And every night he comes and drinks and takes me from my bed to listen to Kulthum, and I used to sing Kulthum without understanding a word of it. Kulthum is the most famous singer in Egypt, the most popular in all Arab countries. Only when I became 16, I started to learn music. I learned to play oud.
Yeah?
Yeah, but not. I did not have any teacher. I taught myself. This is why I did not become a professional musician. In Iraq, there was a different thing, which there was nothing similar in all the world. In Iraq, the Jews was the only musicians of the Iraqi people, and almost until 1950, there was not one player of music which is not Jew, and most famous musicians and composers and some singers were all Jews. So the role of Jews in Iraqi music is different from all the world. The cases where there was performances for audience, I used to go. But the radio had many hours a day for music, and all the band of the radio were Jews, except one. They used to work full time in the radio because all the singers had to be accompanied by music. So they almost stayed all the day because there was no recording at that time, only live music. Mm-hmm. So they had to be in the radio all the day until the end. There is a special kind of music in Iraq called Maqamat. And this Maqamat was family. The father teaches his son and doesn't teach any others. So this is in both styles of music, the Jews were the main musicians. The Maqam is a number of composed songs which are sang as they were composed before, and the singer has to repeat them. Like if you have a sonata, you repeat it, and it is composed by musicians. This maqam is now we have about 56 remaining. We have 56 songs which the maqam singer has to sing them. Everyone who sings a maqam, he sings it like as it was composed before. And this is the maqam. And this was not known by any other country, Arabic country, only in Iraq. This is why they call it Iraqi Maqam. Before the radio, it was sang sometimes in coffee shops, especially in Ramadan at night. There are several shops where the Maqam singers sang. But the most important thing was the wedding celebrations in Jewish families. They have a night celebration the day before the wedding. They call it henna. The henna, when they put henna in the fingers of the wife and bride. And the Maqam group used to start at 7 o'clock in the evening and until morning. And usually they sang about 25 to 27 maqams at that night. And they had a special arrangement of the maqams. So people who are interested in maqam know what maqams are sang at 7 o'clock and what maqams are sang at 10 o'clock and until morning. And in the morning they used to take yogurt because they believed that yogurt is good for the people who drank at night, so that they can go to work in the morning from the celebration. And they called this night Hinna or Sabahiyya. Sabahiyya means a celebration till morning. You can do a maqam celebration without accompaniment. And the instrument accompaniment is only for help. Not the instrument is the important, but the song. But after the Jews left, when the most famous instrument players, the Joza and Santur, wanted to leave Iraq, the Prime Minister did not allow them to leave Iraq before they teach two persons. And these two persons started to teach what they learned in the university and in the musical school. And now you have hundreds of maqam singers and players. The santur player is called Yusuf Pataw. And the Joza player is Saleh Shumail. They taught them how to play, to accompany a maqam singer. They are Western Muslims among all the time, and very famous singers. But there were no players. So he forced them to teach two maqam singers to play. And one of them learned the Joza, and the other learned the Santur. There were 4 or 5 singers who went to Israel, and when they died, there is no maqam singer now. In prison, we made oud.
You made an oud?
Yeah, we made oud. I'm not good in working, but I told them what to do in order to make oud. And they did from a box of a wooden box of tea and sieve. From this part we did three ouds.
Yes, and you played them.
And I played and sang and composed three songs. When a prisoner leaves the prison, and we made celebrations. But here I met Iraqi musicians, and one of the best oud players was my friend here, Salman Shukur. And we used to meet every weekend. We play, and we had a lot of celebrations in Sami Zbeda's house. All the musicians who came from Iraq used to come to me, became friends of mine. Well, it is a world language, a language for all people of the world, and the best language they have. And it is one language for all the people. You have English, French, and all the languages, but in music you have one language.